What's up, dog?
Hey, man.
How you doing?
Pretty decent.
That's what's up. Speaking of dog, you got a... we were just at the pet store for a moment, and you were looking for a bull's penis.
The cock.
Yes.
My dog, that's like one of her favorite treats, is the desiccated bull penis.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like a really high protein, really easily digestible food for them, and they love it.
It's like long. It's
yeah,
like
you can buy them.
long.
You can buy the long ones, which is like really funny. Or you can buy them in like 12-inch or 6-inch. So they come in all sizes. There's a subreddit for like each bull size.
Really?
Penis. Yeah, sure.
Wait.
Like small bull penis problems, big bull penis problems.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Fucking. Is it like they take a penis and they unfurl it?
I really am not familiar with the mechanics, but I can only imagine that they just
Like, is the bull penis actually a meter long?
I feel like there's some stretch involved.
Okay. Yeah, and it's like inside
Like when
the
you
body.
like pushing to take the picture, it's like they push and they pull, and they probably have some sort of optical illusions that they're trying to achieve.
I gotta see how it's made. I gotta see the factory.
Yeah, I want to see
like Laffy Taffy, like the machines rolling it and stuff. They have a bull. They have a fake like cow pussy.
Yeah.
And they have the bull come up to it and start humping it. It just
And they
slices
just
it
slice
off.
it off.
And it goes through the machine.
Yeah, they only get them by tricking wild bulls. They don't actually have a farm or anything like that.
Oh, so it's humane.
Yeah,
It's a neutering
it's like hunting. It's like this bull lived a full life before we just chopped his dick off and let him run around.
What about if it's too young, it like pushes him away or something.
Yeah, exactly.
What about
there's an age of consent for harvesting bull penis?
I'm thinking the testicles. Like do we neuter?
Yeah, that's a steer.
Okay. What do they do with them? They frying them up?
Probably. They got Rocky Mountain oysters. That's like goat.
Is that what that is? Is that what that is?
I know it's
You
goat.
eat them raw?
There is some kind of food that is like some sort of, because like in the middle of America, no one eats fish. So there's some sort of food that is like balls, and I don't know what animal it's from, but it's called Rocky Mountain oysters.
They put them in a shell.
Yeah,
That's so funny. It's just like a cup, like a cup that a person would wear, but it's a testicle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Baseball cup.
You said shuck.
Yeah.
Is it like? So it has to be closed and sort of something.
If you really wanted to emulate like the proper oyster experience, which I think you should, like oysters are a wonderful food, and to deprive people in Oklahoma from oysters is horrible. So
I've had them a few times and I haven't liked them one bit.
really, that's really
Yeah.
surprising because you like all kinds of shit.
I do, but it's like I don't know if I fuck with like raw seawater.
Oh, it's so good
I
to
don't
me.
know.
See, like so on my mom's side of the family, they were fishermen, like from Italy, like, and they came to Monterey, California to catch sardines. So like growing up, I would always be eating like raw, like not raw, but like extremely fresh, caught like hours before seafood. And so like that was like, the normal stuff like shrimp and sand dabs and rock cod and salmon and stuff like that. But then like a shrimp roe, I've eaten that and would eat that as a kid. Like
Shrimp roe.
like
That's
the eggs.
the last meal before you get turned into a shrimp.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I like
The egg.
ROE.
R-O-E.
ROE. Yeah. So it's
I
like
don't think
the
I've ever
eggs.
had shrimp roe.
It's pretty good.
I love the orange.
Mm-hmm.
What roe is that?
I don't know what fish.
Goldfish?
Yeah, yeah,
Goldfish roe.
yeah,
Whatever roe is on like California sushi.
yeah. The
California
bigger
roll.
ones.
They're like are they big? I'm still thinking of tiny. Like
Because
tiny.
shrimp roe is like they're like the size of like a period on a paper. They're really small. Obviously,
That's
shrimp.
that's about how big I'm imagining the like.
Okay.
The orange stuff they've
Yeah,
up.
the balls,
Yeah.
the tapioca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tapioca. No. I'm thinking of much. I'm
I
thinking
know,
of tiny.
we're talking about caviar, but we're trying to avoid talking about caviar because we don't want to sound like elite.
Well, no, I don't mind. I don't think I'm not buying caviar.
Yeah. Have you eaten it before?
I think so, but I don't think it was expensive because I was at like a party.
Yeah.
And they just had it out as like a spread, and it wasn't like a rich. It was like a. Or maybe it was.
Right.
Have you had fancy caviar?
No.
With the seafood side of your family? Okay. We could talk about it then. If we're not like avoiding talking about how our rich caviar eating lifestyle, we've both never had it. What do we avoid? It's like avoiding talking about our mansions that we don't live in.
Yeah. Anyways, though, I love fish and seafood, so.
My guest this week is Shaumbé, and by week I mean whenever.
Yeah.
Month and a half. How whatever. I'm trying to do a thing with this podcast where it's not consistent and there's no reasonable expectations for it.
That's nice. That's balanced.
Shaumbé's a really great animator, really funny guy, good talent. He's not in like comedy directly. He's sort of a leech.
I'm sort of using all my comedian friends to like make my animations funnier.
No, incredibly funny guy. Really nice, sweetest guy. Good cook. I don't know. From what I can tell, do you cook the food when I come over?
Mostly Emily. Emily's like the dope cook. I take it back. I'm the sous chef.
His wife Emily's a great cook.
Yeah.
And you can find us cooking at his house.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's right. That's your plug.
245 St. John's Place. No, that's not my address.
Oh, I was like, is this real?
Yeah, not that. No, I'm not at that level of having a Patreon where I have nothing that tethers me to real life, and I can just dox myself and my family and all that. I still have like a life, unfortunately, that I have to protect.
You're not at the caviar level of Patreon.
No, I don't even have a Patreon.
Oh, I actually do, because I used to do. We did bonus episodes for this for a while, but then I was like, guests hate doing 2 hours.
Totally.
And I was like, I'd rather. It's like, who's more important here, the guests or the audience? And I was like, well, let me see if I can. Probably the vibe of the actual thing needs to be better.
One awesome hour, and then 1 hour in which you can tell that the guest wants to just strangle you.
Yeah. So, what are you working on with animation these days?
There's one thing that I've been working on that's a little bit bigger that I can't talk about, because if I do, unfortunately, it'll just never get done. But that means that because this is like a big project, I have to supplement it with other little things just so that I can still feel like I'm an animator or still feel like I'm an artist. Like having a big project that you are laboring over, and then you hope to eventually succeed in putting out is just like a really like devastating workflow. So I've been working on a handful of things. There's this live series that I've been like that I sort of injected myself into it. It's called Frog Farm. My friend Alex, who started a comic publisher called Frog Farm,
Alex Laird.
Alex Laird, yep. Yes. He has been putting on these live shows where it's stand-up comedy, animation screenings, and comics readings. And I screened at one of them. No, I screened at 2 of them. And then the last one I DJ'd at, and I'm DJing at the next one. And I've never DJ'd before.
So you decided you started to give up on art.
I really wanted to see if it was as easy as just pressing play and becoming famous. But no, so Frog Farm is really fun because it's kind of has a sort of a Blue's Clues style construction where Alex is the host, and then there's all these creatures and characters that co-host the show with him, and there's every show there's lore that gets like increasingly more esoteric, and it builds and builds and builds, kind of based on whatever William Banks decides in the moment to improv. That just becomes the lore. So William Banks has always been on the show as well as like the co-host with Alex
of Car World. To check out that episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's get some synergy going.
Yeah.
So then he's a frog, and all the other characters are frogs, and Alex is Alex. Yeah.
I'm sold.
Yeah, I've told him for a while that like Benny would be like the perfect guy to get on this. Like we need to figure out a character for you. Anyways, though, we had been sort of toying with the idea of having a house band for a while, like someone who can play guests on and off, and who can like play during the intermission and open and close the show and all that stuff. And the last show we did it, and it was like insanely fun. Anytime there was a technical difficulty or like some sort of disaster, because there typically always is, I was able to just like play some songs and keep the vibe going and keep it moving, and it was really cool. And this is side art thing you're doing currently. Yeah.
You've got some sort of big main project bubbling behind the scenes, and so instead, currently, you're kind of putting your efforts into Frog Farm.
So I unfortunately am like a really social person, and I have a lot of different things that I like and want to do. So I feel like the superpower of a lot of cartoonists is that they would self-describe as introverts. I don't really like the language of like introvert, extrovert, ambivert, whatever. I think like we all contain the capacity to be all these things, but to limit yourself to one, I think is a little unnecessary. Like you can be a person that prefers to be alone, but like is still social, or a person that was like really outgoing, but like needs their time to recharge on their own or whatever, and people like to use these labels to kind of like turn them into easily definable characters. And I would rather just, be me. Anyways, I am a really like social and outgoing and really.
So you're an extrovert.
Yes, but that's kind of like yeah, totally. I know. But cartoonists are typically introverted and typically like get really engrossed into their work, and it's awesome. It's cool. It's great. But like,
yeah,
I really love music. I really love film. I really love like making all those things. So like having an outlet to do music in a sort of cartoon adjacent way has been really awesome for me. And I still get to like make
synergy between art forms that you already do.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like why I chose to be an animator as opposed to choosing to be just like a cartoonist who makes comics. Because I love sound, and I love timing, and I love performing. I did like performing arts in high school and stuff. So like I really like all the aspects of film and filmmaking.
No, I feel it. Well, I'm just thinking about like my like main passion outside of comedy is video games.
Yeah.
And I would feel part of it's like I feel like I would spoil video games if I tried to intertwine it with comedy, but I keep thinking maybe I should or something.
Well, you've talked about before, like, because you did computer science, so you sort of are acquainted with the mechanics of like how to make an interactive thing.
Yeah.
So I don't see why you couldn't like make something that's interactive and funny.
I agree. I was thinking about doing like a live show where like a gaming live show or something, or maybe make a game that people play in a space. Could be something fun. Come up with a game. But I guess the thing of the primary way a lot of people monetize it is like Twitch streaming.
Right.
And I honestly, I thought about doing that, but then it's like, in order to monetize it, okay, two main issues with it. One, it's owned by Amazon, and that kind of fucks the vibe. And two is that in order to be monetized or to have it work at all, you have to do it. There's like a minimum of 12 hours a week for like at least 4 different days.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's psycho that you have to do that. There's a minimum time requirement. Just let me do it once a week.
Yeah.
If it was once a week, I would certainly do it.
Sure.
But yeah.
If you want to, there's like a threshold where in which it's significant money.
Yeah.
But that's so much more work,
time and effort.
And time. Yeah. So yeah, and plus you're talking about playing games, right? Versus like making them. I feel like that's two separate
art forms entirely. Yeah.
Like the like performing, entertaining, streaming element. Yeah, that's cool or whatever. But like making the shit I think that's really exciting.
I think so too. Yeah. So I'll think about that. Yeah. What's your favorite art form that you do, or do you not think of it that way? Or do you have a strongest maybe? Like, do you feel like?
I really like that when I make a movie, I can make the music, I can do the design, I can do the the light. Like animation still involves lighting and cameras and stuff like that. So there's like film to me is really like the everything for art form minus interactivity. I guess I just don't have a huge passion for that part of it. I do want to make a game someday with someone, but
this is it. Wait, I want to do it at the same time so we can get a good little picture for the. We look like we're pointing at the frog guy.
Yeah, that's cool. But being able to like the movie that I'm most excited about that I had made last year.
He brought me kombucha.
Oh yeah, we're drinking that life.
Oh fuck!
Oh shit!
Oh shit!
It's exploding.
All right, whatever. Keep talking. It's over the trash can.
The movie that I made most that I was really excited about last year.
The movie you made most?
Or the movie that I was most excited about that I had made last year. Whatever.
Just fucking with him.
Yeah, I know. It was called Terminal Crab, and it had me, obviously doing all the design and character design, and I wrote it and blah blah blah. But I also like sang and played instruments on it as like the soundtrack, and that was really awesome. I love that. So.
Oh, that's cool. I don't think I've heard you sing.
I really like singing.
And it goes a little something like this.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime Benny. But no, I actually really love singing. Like, it's funny. Like, if you sing really sincerely, just out of context, it's devastating for the people around you. Like, if you, I feel like, at least, like, it can be so embarrassing to like just bust out in a song like really sincerely. But that does mean like it makes a really funny bit on a podcast, like like to do a Christmas song for a Christmas episode with total sincerity, singing it like singing like.
And by the way, we'll do this Pete Holmes style, where
like,
at the end we'll get into the God stuff, because I know you're a Godsman.
Yeah,
we've talked about that.
We can if you want. Yeah,
only if you want to.
Okay,
but yeah. I think it's just interesting because it's been part of our conversations.
Totally.
But we could also talk about art.
Yeah, no, for sure. We
can talk about sucking on them bull testicles,
and yeah, exactly. But so I grew up in like singing and playing music at church, and so I was always kind of like in an environment in which like singing communally was like encouraged and was normal, and so like I do really like love to sing.
Did you play instruments at church as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, guitar, bass,
electric
whatever.
guitar.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I've definitely played a lot of like.
There's
at least one picture of me playing like music in like cool church, and I repost it every once in a while because it's such an embarrassing picture to me. But I'm like, I will not be defeated by this picture.
It's like what's the church, like a pipe organ or something?
Yeah.
What is that?
Like in big Catholic churches?
Is that only okay?
I mean, typically those are the only rooms that are big enough for those instruments. Because
why?
Because they're like installed in the room, and they are massive. Like these and the room's acoustics are part of the instrument as well.
Oh.
So like they're smaller organs, like you see them in different kind. Like maybe if you were to go to like a Methodist church, Baptist church in the South or something, and there's a smaller like little like type of like organ that you maybe also would hear in like different jazz and like Latin music and things like that. But
why is it not a piano? Why is it different than a like what? I mean like what is a pipe organ? What is an organ? Do you know?
I mean, I did go to guitar church, but I do know like
where they worship Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. but you know they're just big.
He's sorry, I'm trying to think of he's nailed to the cross by his teeth. And Jimi Hendrix played the guitar with his teeth instead of. All right, sorry, he's nailed to the guitar. Jimi Hendrix nailed the guitar. Is this blaspheme? Sorry. I don't mind doing blaspheme, but I assume you do.
I don't think God. I'm not really. It's hard for me to imagine God getting offended. If you're God, you know.
God puts out Jesus puts out a stand-up special called Triggered.
Yeah. It's really like if imagine. I don't think that this is necessarily God's perspective, but the mechanics are similar. Like I really can't imagine being offended by something that like a 3-year-old says to me. If I'm an adult.
Right. Know? Okay. That's interesting. So you think so
we are not if you really believe that in like a omniscient, all-knowing, time and space, like beyond being, it's really hard for me to imagine him getting pissed that you were like, I'm bigger than Jesus. You're just a guy to him.
Let's say I'm bigger than Jesus? No, I said Jimi Hendrix is getting nailed to a guitar.
I was just quoting another like famous blaspheme thing. You know,
who said
John Lennon.
Oh, really? He said I'm bigger than Jesus?
Yeah, we're bigger than Jesus. That was like a whole thing for the Beatles for a while.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
But you know, I guess that was edgy to some people and they got mad. But I can never really imagine myself getting like offended on behalf of God. Like if God is really that big and powerful, like he's probably fine.
Yeah. No, I mean it's interesting because it's like our whole perspective structure is so different. Like but I mean we've come to sort of. It's cool that we are able to meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Where like I don't know. It's odd to me, and it's interesting. I guess we're gonna do it a little bit now. It's interesting to me that you live your life in such a way that there's a omniscient, powerful, hyper being and I live my life as if there's not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy. That's such a different world you and I both live in. You know what I mean?
It's funny. And I'm really happy to get to have these kind of conversations because in my experience, typically people who believe a certain way are only really around other people who believe similarly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we live in a really like atomized, individual, antisocial world, and the forces of this world are pushing us more and more and more to be separate. Mm. So when people do find commonality, that's typically who they stick with, whether it's like your church community or you're this or you're that or whatever. So getting to have a conversation in which we go like this, we intersect for a second is rare and valuable to me. But it's funny because I think that there might be a perspective that I've had with not just you, but like other people that I've had this kind of intersection with before, where people sort of like assume that like I do kind of like have this kind of maybe like just really tangible, constant like acknowledgement and understanding of like presence of God or something like that. I believe that I have that or whatever. It's like, no. Like there's a I'm probably going to paraphrase some scripture in this conversation because like, but there's a moment in the Bible where in which someone calls out to Jesus and says something like, "I believe, help my unbelief." And Jesus responds really positively to that statement, like the understanding that like you can have faith and doubt in the same breath, in the same mind, like all these things coexist. They're not enemies. Like I've said to you before, like in other conversations, like they're brothers. They're not enemies. Like
the brothers, like Cain and Abel,
perhaps. But I hope I don't think that there is a I don't think one will kill the other in my lifetime. But like faith kind of requires doubt, otherwise it's certainty. Faith and certainty are the things that are enemies, not faith and doubt. So like that means that like I probably could and should be a little bit more cognizant of the spiritual and acknowledge God more. I struggle with it just like anyone else. I feel like who grows up in the church and who that's kind of like their default, and they are trying to like live thoughtfully, live honestly, like live curiously. Those are kind of like my three big things that I like want for myself, is to always be like.
Those are 3 commandments.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Just be curious.
Yeah.
God said, think about it. Be curious. Vibe out.
Yeah. So someone who's trying to do all 3 of those things, is as lucky as me to live in like such a diverse place with such a diverse friend group, and that means diverse in like every way, like including belief. There's going to be like a lot of times where in which I'm like, yeah, like, or I just I kind of like get to voice certain parts of like faith or doubt that maybe I wouldn't if I was in like a more homogenous social circle. So
in either direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. There's I imagine that you can't have doubt in certain circles that are. I mean, you can, but it's like harder to bring up, and it's harder to bring up faith in certain circles.
Maybe there's like a type of honesty that you have to kind of like grow into, and it's like I at some point there was a while where in which so there's another idea in scripture called like being all things to all men, being all things to all people. So it's like
I'm that.
Yeah, it's like
I do that. I do that sometimes.
It's
like, it depends on which hat I'm wearing.
Yeah, exactly. But it is literally like, yeah, like if so and so needs you to be such and such for them, like be that. If so and so needs you to, and I could get more into that, but I don't want to drill too deep. I just want to get to what I'm trying to say.
Oh, sure.
Which is that like I used to kind of think that meant to like be really compartmentalized and like show certain parts of myself to some people and other parts to other people. But that can be pretty tiring, and as I got older, it started to feel more and more dishonest. So I just decided not to separate. It's helped me. It's helped me in one big thing actually, which is kind of repairing a lot of the relationships or the way that I viewed people at church, because it was always like, oh, these people are judgmental. These people are kind of like stingy or kind of like repressed or whatever, and just not interesting or fun. But the perspective that I gained from being around people who aren't in that environment makes me realize like, oh no, these people are normal too. They just kind of like everyone's fucked up, you know, and everyone has certain ways in which they express it. And it's sometimes like, I guess like I was able to have more grace for the people that maybe are like on their way to being like secure enough to be like, I don't fucking know what's going on, like at church, you know, or people who are, and it's actually been helpful in those relationships because then I can just be real and not be like afraid of being judged or whatever. Because that was kind of a thing for a while. It was like, I was a really big conformist because I wanted to like sort of be accepted in that sphere, and it just meant that I was like afraid all the time and stuff, which is not really great for being like an artist.
No, yeah. Looking at the truth and being honest is important for being an artist.
Totally. It's like the kind of like exploring what is true is kind of the only thing our artists for.
Yeah. So. Also, interestingly, I'm not neutral in this space. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess the thought is like, I don't like faith. Mm-hmm. I don't like Christianity. I don't like the belief in God. In fact, I view it as and we've had this discussion, and I'm trying to sow the seeds of doubt further in your mind, but I'm trying to do that openly and honestly with you.
Sure.
So I view the belief in the Christian God and belief in those systems and structures as harmful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think that any of the.
But we can do it. But I don't view you as harmful. I
don't think any of the writers of scripture or like any of like the first century Christians could have imagined a world where in which like the greatest hegemonic empire of all time also claimed to be a Christian empire. It's completely crazy. And so you know, like I completely agree. Like I think that the ways in which the church has gotten buddy with power and authority is completely net negative. And there were, and I've mentioned this to you before too, is that there were people in that moment of like the first century who agreed with me on that and split. Around the time of like Constantinople, the Roman emperor who made Christianity the civil religion of the Roman Empire. Around that time when that happened, there was a group called the Desert Fathers and Mothers who said, all right, peace. They split off, went to the desert. A lot of them kind of sort of became like Eastern Orthodox or whatever. But there was a very clear separation between people who believed that now Christianity is legit or thought now Christianity is poisoned. So
I will say that, I mean, part of my issue is the authority and the co-opting of it by states and powers. But I do fundamentally mean at the root level,
right? The belief itself
and the ideas involved.
Yeah.
Just because I view there as being a system and methods of like, you know, the scientific method and the rigorous like caring about truth and caring about what is true and having that be what guides us in our ideology. And I believe that only through secular scientific method and thought can we build up infrastructures of knowledge that are verifiably retestable and provably true in certain senses, either using logic or using statistical methods. Whereas I think that the ideas inbound in the text of the church or Islam or Judaism or any religion are a variety of ideas that are not provable and also regressive and backwards and harmful in a variety of different ways that are very much so a baby in bathwater situation where you have certain lessons from it that you have to use a secular perspective to cherry pick and go, I like these ideas, but then it comes with so much baggage that I think it's not worth having.
Sure. Yeah. And I don't subscribe to the idea of the God of the gaps. Yeah. Meaning, are you familiar with what that is? That means that basically like you use God to explain that which can't be explained, because we explain more and more and more all the time as we learn more and more about the world. And I think that's like, so I believe science.
Is God of the gaps the thing where it was like before they knew what the rain was, they were like, that's God, and
right,
like, God, it's clouds. Okay, well, God made the clouds, and it like keeps going.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't. So if there's something in physics that we can't explain or something in biology that we can't explain, well, it's like you conveniently have God to fill that. I don't subscribe to that. Like I believe that that it's pretty clear that like actually it's I was gonna say I believe and it's pretty clear, but there's actually like a lot of like unclarity in my mind and a lot of belief and doubt in my mind. So to say that I believe any one specific thing regarding this issue would probably be a little bit disingenuous. So
I'm trying to hand your doubt side some more shields and swords.
That's funny.
I'm trying to like be like, I'm trying to arm your doubt side more.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think it needs any help. Like,
oh sure.
You know that I am like literally only a Christian, and I even put that in quotes because I think there's too much baggage there. But I literally like only like participate in Christianity or whatever.
For the food?
Because one, I don't believe that I chose to do it. Like there's another idea in Scripture that God or Jesus is the author and the perfecter of faith. So you can't boast about being a super faithful person. You can't like have like this I believe in blah 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 blah. That's to me like a very like worldly attitude where it's about like how strong your belief is and how obstinate you are and how rigid you are. I was actually sort of gifted and cursed with faith. So if I was to say, you know what, I no longer acknowledge God, it would actually feel dishonest to me. Like I really can't control that. So
yeah, okay, yeah. So, and so in the search for truth, honesty is an element of it, and being honest with yourself and how you feel and how you think and your emotions and different.
I have had personal experiences that I think that could be coincidences or could be hallucinations or could be this or that, but like you know, those things compel me to love, compel me to learn all these other things.
I'm turning down pass me that thing real quick. That's too loud.
Yeah.
Get the fuck. Goddamn, AC too loud. Okay.
That's okay. Those experiences that are personal or whatever, they compel me to love. They compel me to learn.
Trying to silence me?
No.
It's the AC. I mean,
yeah. No. He's not bothered. But those experiences compel me to love, compel me to learn, compel me to create, compel me to think outside myself, to serve people, to all these other things. So, yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah. Okay, and maybe we'll step back from the Christianity because we touched on it sooner than I was thinking. Maybe we'd do it later, but
sure.
But that's interesting. I think we've come to. It's interesting that we can be at that level and then talk about art, and let's talk about truth in art a little bit.
Totally. I
think that's a space in between the two conversations. The idea, I mean, you can tell when somebody's stuff is not coming from a place of truth. And what does that mean or look like? It's like that their motive is for money, or that they're being like they've made the money and now they're just kind of crapping out more art for more money. You know what I mean? Money seems to be a primary corrupting factor.
It is unfortunate that like we must live and eat. Like I wish we could just make all day and never sleep and never need a house and never need food and all that. It'd be really sick. But yeah, there's always going to be like compromising forces like in the world. And for some people that means like, yeah, I made something that's kind of shitty, but like I was paid to do it. And for a lot of people that's actually the dream, is to like get paid to use your skills. To me, that's what it feels like. I'm at a point where in which I don't have a job and I am constantly doing jobs that I'm just sort of okay at and not super good at. And the things that I'm super good at are like really creative. Oh yeah. So if I was able to get a job doing what I'm super good at, even if it meant making something that was like a little bit shitty, I'd be fine with that because I can always have, I can always figure out maybe like it'll take longer or maybe this or that, but I can maybe make the time to make the pure uncompromised thing at some point. It's a priority for me, so I think I would do it. Yeah,
but I will say that I think that is still a truth, right? That is still art from a place of truth. It's like the truth being, I need this money to live. I guess what I'm actually talking about more so is once money is no longer a need and becomes a want.
Yeah.
Like if you're at the point where you're a famous actor and you start making credit card commercials. Yeah. I think that's what I mean in terms of like
I definitely would like to set up a life for myself that doesn't require me to do that. Right? Like I get I'm a famous actor, and I'm in Star Wars. I'm in Star Wars now for some reason.
Yes.
And I get a check.
What's your name in Star Wars?
Oh no, I wrote down like an awesome one. Oh, fuck. All right,
Shaumbé.
I don't want to say Glup Shitto because that's like a common meme or whatever.
Yeah,
but
that is funny.
Yeah, it's an awesome one. It's so
Glup
good.
Shitto. Yeah.
So I'm Glup Shitto, and I made a let's say like it's a modest contract, $10 million.
Yeah.
That's like enough for me.
That's enough.
That's
for
well. That's well over the amount that I need to like just like have a little house, and maybe I can pay my property taxes. And there's always whenever I think about, oh yeah, I bought a house, I paid off a house, then it's like property taxes or whatever. There's always like other little like bills or things. I would like to set up a life for myself in which that big check was enough, and now I can just work on the little things that I want to work on. Like I don't have to continue to. I don't want to have to continue to live so extravagantly that like I continue to have to compromise creatively and career wise. That's like I think that, and I think that that's a perspective that I can only have gotten to by getting to my 30s and being unsuccessful.
Yeah. No, dude, I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about that so much. Like comedy. If it had worked, I think about it because I feel bad for people when you see their career go really well and they're 20.
They get lost in it.
And you go, oh, no. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, that's not, I was reading this thing about how the like brain being done cooking at 25 is actually like kind of like a debunked myth. And it's like actually not exactly true.
I don't feel that way about myself.
Yeah. Or just the, or just like that it was basically being like, I don't want to paraphrase that thing, but I guess the point being that a decade of more experiences and knowledge, and also like my hair is starting to go or whatever. By the way, I will be bald soon. I'm saying I'm barely a Norwood 2. Yeah. But don't worry, I'll be fully bald in the next 5 years or so.
Nice.
According to everybody in my family's hair.
Yeah.
But just the idea being that you're aging and all this stuff, and like I'm just having a perspective of having worked in the world. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you mean by it? Like, why are you happy that it hasn't worked out yet?
I've succeeded in so many ways that I'm so grateful for. Like, I have like an amazing wife, and
nice. Same. Wait, hold on.
So I have like an amazing partner. I have like a really robust friend group. I'm really like sure of myself within those groups of people. Like I have a lot to offer them. I have worked and gotten a lot of experience. Like maybe it took me a while to figure out like exactly where I wanted to end up, but I feel like I've redeemed all those wasted years or experiences. Like I don't have any like huge regrets. So that's even that is a huge success to me. I don't have like the things that like make me like go like this at night are really not that crazy in the grand scheme of things. Like I don't have a lot of that. So that to me is like a big success. But I don't have like a massive audience. I really love the audience that I have, and I am really grateful for them. That's a thing that I had to learn. It's like be grateful for who actually likes your work now. Don't just be like opining for like a gaggle of strangers in the future or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's many stones to uncover, and there's many like opportunities that I want to find. Like I still have a certain like amount of ambition, which is good. And I'm happy about. Every year on my birthday, I would get so depressed, like, another year or whatever. And it's just because like you have a vision. I had a vision for my life and my future that I want to get to, and growth isn't something that you can just be like, and that's not what trees do. Like trees grow, and it just takes time. Like you can't be like,
you don't know that.
I want to be at such a place. I want to be on.
You know what trees are thinking, dude.
Yeah. Okay. But what we can observe is that the trees go. And they do their thing. Yeah, they don't sit around stressing about what how to become a fruit bearing tree in a couple months or something like that.
Tree having a midlife crisis.
Yeah, exactly. There's no you open the rings and you see like a little like Ferrari in there. Like,
Yeah, it's where I get divorced or whatever. Yeah.
So, anyways,
Well, actually, just bring up the idea of midlife crisis, and what you're saying is, I think you and I have done similar things. I feel as though I've midlife crisis proofed my life, where I can't imagine myself being 45 and going like, "Fuck, what the hell have I been doing?" Because I feel extremely engaged in what I'm doing.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
You had like the vision and the integrity to kind of like know what you actually wanted to do and pursue it. Not
Yeah.
just like,
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, whatever safe thing you could have done, I guess.
Yeah, and but not everybody gets to do this.
Totally,
And so
it is
kind of
a
like
huge
a thing
privilege
of like,
to be able to get to do that.
yeah. I don't, not to get into this too much, but it's like, how do we create a world where everybody gets to be fully engaged in, you know what I mean? But that's a whole can of worms.
Do I want that? I want someone to like buy a Netflix subscription so that maybe my movie will be on there and then maybe they'll watch it.
Yeah, but it can be both, right? Like I can watch your stuff and be engaged in my world. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Absolutely. How do we? Yeah, you know.
I totally believe like everyone should try to be creative, and I think everyone can. Like I don't think that I'm unique in that I have like a certain talents or whatever. I just really wanted to like get better at some of the things that I've gotten better at, and I know I'm not the best at. I just really wanted to get better at them. So,
yeah, no, absolutely.
I think anyone can do that.
And even if you're not creative, I'm trying to think of like, if you weren't creative, like what would be fulfilling? You know what I mean? I don't know. This like Roger Ebert, for example. You could consider it a form of creativity to be a critic. Absolutely.
No, yeah,
You know
I think
what I
that it's important to like
But it's
to give voice to certain ideas around art that like, you know, like the critics in many ways create like a culture that allows art to thrive because they're an intermediary between artists and audiences, and they can expose audiences to different ideas within art, get them to think more critically about art. You know, it's like
critically.
Yeah, you know, yeah, someone who can give you more ideas about how to interpret and discover the intentions of artists is good. I completely like critics.
That's cool. Do you what's some ideas in art that you have learned from critic? Like, is there anything that like has opened your eyes to art?
Okay, so this is not necessarily from a critic; it's from a filmmaker. Werner Herzog talks about ecstatic truth. Are you familiar with this concept?
No.
So it's a type of truth that comes from lies. So there's a type of cinema called cinema verite, which is like filming what is real in a really unfiltered and a really like unadulterated way. Like it's the mundane, it's like just like life happening. Then ecstatic truth is
like a podcast.
Trying to but ecstatic truth is like assembling devices in such a way that communicate the truth that you're like a greater truth. So it's setting up your camera and filming yourself addressing someone or addressing something and then not getting it super right, so you try again and another take. Or it's the Casey Neistat thing where you film yourself walking and then you walk back to the camera and pick it up, or doing these type of things because you're trying to, in your art, communicate like a truth, but you're using the devices of filmmaking to do it. So it's like if you watch the movie Grizzly Bear, which I highly recommend, he really talks about this. Like this guy like loved the bears and would film them, but he would do like a lot of things in multiple takes and would try again and you could consider that inauthentic. But if you think about his intentions, the thing he was trying to communicate was true, and he was trying to communicate that in the best way possible.
Can you imagine if he didn't get the bear eating him on the first take and he had to do it again?
Yeah, I know, that would have been totally whack.
He had to do it 3 times.
Total fraud.
He said, cut.
No. So,
yeah.
Anyways.
It's like, I need you to scream with more tenacity.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't seen the movie, but that's the famous idea from it. It's not a spoiler because that's what everybody knows about that part of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's like and when we talk about honesty, like it can feel dishonest when you're like making something or whatever to like curate it and make it perfect and just right or whatever.
Fuck.
But it's completely like like when you have the vision of what you're trying to do with the work, you should try your best to communicate that vision like however you think is the best.
Do you have okay, speaking of which, is your vision work specific, or do you have like an overarching vision of Shaumbé?
I used to have like a really like strong vision for my life and what I wanted it to be, but there's too many variables and too many like unforeseen things.
Christian rock and roll, and it's a frog band, animated frog band playing Christian rock.
No.
Come on down the bayou, we love Jesus.
Yeah. I think the most
The alligators of the Romans.
I'm trying to think of like the most Christian I would want my work to be like.
Background influence, subconscious from your own perspective.
Yeah, like on some Sufjan type shit.
On some what? On some what?
On some Sufjan type shit.
Oh,
he's like,
yeah. Is he similarly?
He's like pretty explicitly religious, and there's a lot of those themes in his songs, but they're through the lens of like his experience and his relationships and things like that. So,
through the Chicago skyline.
Exactly. John Wayne Gacy, but
right. A man goes to see the doctor. Says he's feeling depressed, and the doctor says, "Oh, you should go see the great clown John Wayne Gacy."
Mm-hmm.
And then a few months later, the doctor is found in a river.
Exactly. That's cool. But
cool. Yeah, cool is the idea. Was everyone?
What was I gonna say?
I like your shirt, by the way. I mentioned that before. What is it?
It's
and then we'll come back to your vision.
Like an epic scene on this side, and then on this side, it's also an epic scene.
Look at that fit. Look at that.
And it goes onto the shoulders.
That's one of my okay, so you are tying it together. I feel like you kind of. By the way, I'm going podcast voice mode. I know we don't. This isn't how we would talk if we were at the coffee shop.
No, yeah.
But
WTF with Benny.
Hello.
What the fuck with Benny?
That's right. That's right. That's how I talk normal. Yeah. It's I have a midlife crisis where I'm like, I need to not have Tourette's or something. Anyway, you as an artist live in the artist's life. You're very artisted. You've got the shirt. You're doing a lot of different mediums. You're engaged with art on many, many levels, and
I try to
sort of fully, yeah.
Yes, I completely try to. So I'm the firstborn in my household, and all the rest of my family are jocks. And I played sports too. Like
you bully them at all?
No, I mean yeah, of course I did. But like this type of bullying. Anyways, my dad was in the NFL. Like
really?
Yeah. So he played professional sports. My little brothers are like both like amazing athletes still.
Oh wow.
I played football a little bit like in high school, and I went to a small school. So
is your dad a known guy?
No, he's like just an average guy in the NFL, which is funny. I mean, it's still it's still 1 in 2 million athletes get to be in professional sports, but yeah, he wasn't like on Madden or anything. He was just like a guy. His career like career peak was in college. He set like NCAA records and stuff like that. So
cool.
He was a beast. He would do backflips in his full pads and stuff like that. Like, crazy stuff.
That's sick.
But so I was the firstborn, so there's always going to be like I actually do kind of like really believe in like certain birth order things, just with like how you kind of like end up getting raised in your household, kind of.
Yeah, I don't think that's spiritual as much as like that's a certain psychology.
Yeah, exactly. So there's certain like there's certain ideas that like I don't really subscribe to, but there's certain ones that I really do, and I think birth order is one of those. Like, so there's a lot of figuring out that your parents are having to do when you're like the first teenager in the house, or you're the first this, or you're the first that. So it kind of took maybe like a couple seconds for them to sort of get like a stronger grip on the idea that I was like, yeah, I'd rather just like play guitar than play football or whatever. And I still think even in myself, like coming fully to grips with like, yeah, I want to be an artist. I want to like live an art life, like David Lynch talks about or whatever. Like I want to do that. I think that I had to finish art school to figure that out. And I finished art school when I was 28. So I went to like community college for a little bit after high school, dropped out, went to Montana to like be part of this like mega church up there where I learned all about graphic design and all about like media and all about like all my skills basically. Then went back to my hometown to start a church in which I was like doing.
You started a church?
Yes. I was doing all the creative. I was doing all the singing. I was like doing all the marketing materials and stuff like that. I was just doing like all the fun stuff, stuff that I like.
Still going? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They found a spot in the community after, and like have people that go there and whatever. So, but then after that, I moved to New York because I wanted to do graphic design and did that for.
If you could start a church here, you can start.
You can start it anywhere.
Yeah.
But no, so I moved to New York and started doing graphic design, and then it was around like 2018. I really decided like I wanted to like fill in all these gaps in my knowledge base that I felt like I was faking it till I make it so much, and really just wanted to like learn in like in an academic environment. Like, and I'm in New York City. There's so many good schools here. Maybe I can figure it out. So I did go and get into Pratt and went there when I was like 24 and I was a freshman. None of my classmates remember 9/11. Like it was like, you know,
oh, wow.
It was,
yeah.
and then I was 28 when I finished. But it was through that process I sort of just like came to grips with, really like wanting to and figuring out like how to be like an artist, because I came from like just a really practical, normal people, normal background. Always had a really practical mindset. Like when I moved to New York, it was like job, got a job, then finally like went to a bar and met people. Like I spent like so long just like practical, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like it took me like a while to like nail down exactly like this is like what makes me feel like really good to be me.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's like, well, I'm also from a very like practical minded family who are like, you can do comedy, but you simply have to go to college and get like you have to get a good degree and job oriented. But it is practical to have friends. That is a practical idea.
To live a life where you don't want to kill yourself.
That is
really
practical. Yeah. So it's like that's very reasonable of you to do that. To go to the bar. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and then you met your wife Emily, who's the sweetest in the world,
the best.
And the best. You met her at church.
I did. I walked into this church right after I got my job. I was like, oh, if you're comfortable in those environments, it's a really quick way to like have a community. So I like walked in and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna hate it here. I immediately thought that because it was like a cool church. It was kind of like what I wanted the church that I had started to sort of eventually become.
But they're smoking cigarettes. Sorry,
that's actually like not like a joke. That's literally.
Really?
Yeah, someone. So, but it was a lot like what I wanted the church that I started to eventually become.
Yeah, we'll let you believe in God, but first you gotta name 5 of the lines of scripture.
Yeah, so dispensationalism. Anyways, but I was like,
I don't get that joke. But
that's maybe someone will. But I walked in and was like, oh, I'm gonna hate it here because it's just like what I wanted the church that I had planned to sort of eventually become. But there were so many girls that I was like, maybe I'll stay. and I did marry one of them.
And what church?
I did literally marry one of them, so it worked out for me. But
it'd be so unbelievably dishonest of me to go to church to meet women. Because I'd have to just like
wretched to do.
And I would be like,
that is completely horrible. Do not do that.
Have you seen people do that? Is that like
to some degree? Yeah. But ideally,
can you tell when somebody's faking their faith? I don't. That's something you should. That's a hard thing to gatekeep.
It's really not a habit that I would ever like encourage or want, or I don't think anyone would encourage that type of habit. Typically, everyone in the church acknowledges like we're all just figuring it out.
Right.
So if there's someone who's further or not as far or whatever, it's pretty normal. There is completely an idea like within a healthy community that you protect vulnerable people. So you protect women from predatory men. You protect neurodivergent people from X, Y, or Z things. Like you make people feel safe and comfortable and look out for each other. I'm gonna flip that back just real quick and go, that is not the perspective of the church from the outside. No, I agree completely. I'm talking about like
within
the type of healthy community I would consider myself a part of.
Right.
Is
okay.
that,
yes.
Not one where in which people
who
are in power abuse that power.
Right.
That is completely like common, and that is the reputation.
Absolutely.
So
I wouldn't go to a church like that. Absolutely. I will say and I don't think I doubt that that's your church. I assume your church is good and chilling, and they're all smoking and protecting.
Not
kids.
anymore. I don't go to the smoking church anymore.
Yeah. but the Catholic Church, that reputation is not only it's not only true, but it's deserved and accurate and
it's also not only the Catholic Church.
Not only the
It's
Catholic
so
Church.
so many other large,
Right.
even non-denominational large churches. It's still there's a really gross hierarchy, and people can get away with so much and not have accountability. If there's so many steps that the type of leadership has to take to be so public and so accountable that I don't think a lot of people are willing to sacrifice. These men who are in charge have to really sacrifice a lot in order to be accountable, and they should do that.
They should. I will say
very few do.
Yeah. I mean, from a similarly, just the maintenance of my general rule of thumb is that I think that is a feature and a product of the system inherently and of churches, and that if that cool church were to grow to a certain size, you cannot expect individuals to have that sort of self-oversight.
I think it was at that size when I got there.
Right. At the mega,
the cool church.
Was that a large size? Was that big enough to become an issue?
Yes.
Or? Yeah.
That's why we left.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I don't want to necessarily get into that in public.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Definitely is in the realm of gossip, but
right. But I guess my point is that I think that is inherent to the church structure from what I can tell from the lack of systemic oversight within. You know what I mean? Or third party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I could tell you how and why certain. So I've been a part of several churches in my life, and the ones that I think were.
You have no loyalty. Sorry.
Right. That's funny. But the ones that I think were healthy and had healthy. The leadership was a healthy and appropriate or whatever. There are ways in which I could, because I was just a normal person, I could tell you what they were doing to ensure that there was a healthy relationship between them and the congregation and things like that. But you shouldn't go to a church that doesn't have those things.
Absolutely.
Where it's all about honoring the leaders and stuff like that. You should not go to a church like that.
I should also say that I went to synagogue for a long time. I went to synagogue for 18 years of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's less for you and more for anybody thinking that I'm coming at this from a purely outside perspective.
No, yeah.
But I'm I was raised in religious institutions.
Did you observe a lack of accountability from leadership in those spaces?
No, I actually did not. For I think that space, I would say no. I would say there were certainly absolutely dog shit ideas that were an issue and an issue in the long run, etc. I mean, one example would be Zionism is very much so rampant and was fed to me. You know what I mean? And we used to.
Me too.
Yeah.
I went to Christian elementary school, so I had and middle school and high school. So I'm fully evangelical, not even dipped. I'm like submerged into it and shook around in it for a long time. So
nice.
I
marinated. You're delicious. I would eat you, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're making me want to eat you
absolutely.
Right now.
But yeah,
the trouble with church is that it makes people delicious.
Facts.
But I mean, one example of not even necessarily harmful in the direct sense, but just a complete fucking waste of time is that we learn how to sight read Hebrew letters phonetically. We're not taught the meaning of any of it.
Right.
So I can look at I don't know if I still have this. I'm sure I've lost it from lack of use. But at the time, if you gave me a paragraph of Hebrew, I could read it. I could go Mika Moka Bailim Adonai, whatever, blah, blah, blah. No clue what the fuck I'm saying, which I think is such a strange. They teach you. They don't.
So it's not. So you don't think it's valuable as a cultural heritage?
Well, okay. Two thoughts are, they're teaching you halfway. Imagine you were taught how to sight read the English language, but none of what it meant.
Oh,
you could read a sentence I went to the library, and you could say that out loud without having a clue what you just said.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's extremely weird and pointless to do.
Right.
In terms of cultural heritage, I have mixed feelings about that. I believe that idea. I mean, I've heard this described as peer pressure from dead people. Cultural heritage, I think that is a very important thing to look at and go like, what's the baby, what's the bathwater here?
Sure.
Is learning to sight read, like either learn the language or don't. And certainly there's all these other dog shit ideas that come with that in that space of like, having to clip up the positive Israel news articles or talk about how like how their defense is better.
Right.
I'm trying to remember or like how, I mean, this one lady straight up taught us that evolution is like a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like all these, I don't know, bad ideas that come with that. And if the cultural heritage is false and bad ideas, I'm not interested in that cultural heritage.
Sure.
I should say, I know I'm Jewish ethnically. I'm proud of being Jewish ethnically. I have fully rejected the religion.
Yeah.
I think that it's dumb. I think that
Sure.
it's not only, I mean, I think that it's harmful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be really funny if you were
yeah.
like, I think that Judaism's fine, considering like how you feel about like what I believe. That would be really funny.
Yeah.
But no, you're consistent.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but and obviously that is that's a bit of an issue in the certain spaces, but it's like we're almost we're wrapping up a bit, but I just the idea of like and I've talked about this before, but like Passover.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of celebrating stuff culturally,
Mm-hmm.
Passover's made up.
Right.
The Jews were never slaves in Egypt. That's like not true.
Mm-hmm.
There's no archaeological evidence for that.
Mm-hmm.
There's like evidence that before there were Jews, Egypt controlled a certain area of land that the Canaanites were on briefly, but the idea that the Jews, as like the Hebrews, were enslaved in Egypt and escaped is like complete nonsense.
Okay.
So the point of like the idea of celebrating that cultural tradition is also meaningless. You know what I mean? And that but people don't know that, and they're celebrating this sort of thing where they're like, sorry, I don't mean.
Well,
to
I mean, like we all have myths, to some degree, like that we ascribe to. Like I think to say that like
sorry, I really went on a rant.
no, that's okay, that's okay. I think that like
I'm trying to not ascribe to myths. Is my point. I don't like
Right.
myths. I'm trying to. If I find a myth that I ascribe to, I go, all right, let's get rid of that now. You know what I mean? Why I'm interested in truth and humanity and a secular understanding of ethics and reality based on the scientific method. And if there's a myth in that space, I go, let's stop this. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm making a connection between cultural myths and what I just described as ecstatic truth. Lies that serve a greater truth. Oh no!
Yes. But a magic trick is different than a lie, right? If somebody does a magic trick, I know conceptually that it's an ecstatic truth, that it's a fun magic trick, but that doesn't mean I believe in the magic. You know what I mean? And I think filmmaking is a magic trick in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I personally.
Sorry, I got heated
Totally.
mentally.
I think that I hope to actually continue to grow in this ability, which is to like discover the truths within stories and within narratives and within things like that, and not just discover them but like live them. So like a big thing for me when I sort of like went through this big deconstruction period in which I took all like the ideas that I grew up with and started to actually be honest with how I believed about this one, that one. That's an ongoing process forever. But one thing that was like really clear to me was that the narrative like of like Christ and what like and incarnation, life, ministry, sacrifice, those type of things like was like really important for me to like hang on to, like because of what that means for like how I treat people in my life and how I like orient myself in the world as like hopefully to be like a servant and to like consider not just my own goals and perspective and desires as like the key motivating factor for my life. So that to me is like finding a greater truth within a story that like I could even consider dubious. Like
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when I look at I don't know, like something that comes to mind is like the TV show, the kids' TV show, like Avatar,
Yeah.
the Airbender. I can view that as a story, I can view that as a narrative, and I can take away real truths and live my life based on this mythic idea in that sense. But it's important to me to understand that it is myth and to treat it as myth. But I guess the trouble with Judaism and the Christianity, these other spaces, is that it's not treated as myth.
Right. It's not completely honest for me to say I do not believe that there is no truth, or I believe there's no truth in this. Like, I just can't admit that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, and that's interesting.
Right.
I want to give you,
because, dude, I really wish.
last word.
In many ways, I wish I could. But that's just not my life.
And so, maybe a final idea. How are you incorporating myth into your own storytelling?
Yeah, I basically do have to live as if I am a protagonist, and the things that I do and say do matter, and my choices every day can contribute to a story that I am happy to tell people, or one that makes me depressed and disappointed.
Wait, you want it to not be one that makes
I want
you...
it to be one that is like I'm excited to tell.
Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry. I thought I misheard for a second. I was like, wait, you want it to be disappointing?
No. I want it to be awesome and so cool. So
Yeah.
I have to like make choices every day to like that small wins to get to that point. So, and
then I guess I'm also asking, in your own art, how do you construct a myth? Art is that, and then then we'll end in a smidge, and I'll give you some closing thoughts.
How do I wish I knew. I'm still figuring out like.
That's cool. That's a cool place to.
Everything is, and the conceptual stuff is really new, and figuring out all that stuff out, and like becoming a better writer and all these things. Like that's something that like I'm still trying to figure out. I've been reading Norm's book because there's so many like fake stories that seem so real and are so true because he's saying them in such a distinct voice, and I really want to figure out how to do
book.
that.
Norm Macdonald's book.
So sick.
What's it called again?
It's like based on a true story. I think that's what it's called.
Right. Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, it's all lies. You know.
You know, he had a special called like Hitler's Dog, Gossip and Trickery, and he explicitly is like, look, comedy is I'm lying to you. This is all smoke and mirrors. This is gossip and trickery.
Right.
And I think that's a really cool perspective on like magic and art. Do you have any okay, let's do two things, plugs and the closing thoughts.
Yes, if you're in Brooklyn on August 23rd, come to Littlefield. It's the first time we've had a show at Littlefield. We sold out the last two in Purgatory. We had to turn people away. So now we're in a bigger venue, cooler tech. Really, it's going to be so sick and fun and awesome, but we need people to come.
I love that. Can I get you? That's awesome. If I'm around, I'll come.
Yes.
I'll have to check. But then can you also plug stuff for people watching this in the future?
In the future, go to Shaumbé.com or at Shaumbé. That's where I am.
Nice.
That's basically it. I don't really have anything else, but just like fuck with me.
Oh yeah, my only you fuck with Shaumbé.
Yeah.
My only time-based plugs are that I'll be at the DC Comedy Loft August, I think 15th or 14th. It's one of those two. It's on my calendar. I have DC, but I don't remember which day exactly is that. And then I'm in Philly in September, which I haven't written on my calendar. I'm so bad at plugging. And check out my podcast.
Fuck with him.
Please fuck with me. And if you're on Tinder, please fuck me.
Don't do that to me.
Don't do that to Shaumbé.
Yeah.
But don't fuck me unless you plan on falling in love with me. That's my new rule.
Nice.
And then, do you have any closing thoughts?
I wish I had like an awesome pithy saying.
Ha!
No.
Always keep it, Shaumbé.
Always be.
Christ is king.
That would be dope, actually. I made Benny say it. I did it.
The clip.
I did it. I did evangelism.
I like the idea of doing a mission, a science mission trip, and I go to like
science camp, like just an awesome like educational experience.
Yes, but elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like I go to I don't know. I go to like a small town somewhere, and you guys are helping build a home, and I'm like, by the way, it rains because of the clouds. And then just like an unhelpful science mission trip.
That's cool.
All right, cool. Peace. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah.
Good to have you.